Okay, y'all, come in. Let's talk hoodoo real quick. Now, I done heard it all from people in the hoodoo community that hoodoo practitioners are racist, they gatekeep, they don't want to help nobody, that we basically just be on the internet studying our stuff, talking about all the stuff that we do, but we don't want to help those who are trying to be a part of the practice. So I feel like we need to have a hoodoo lesson, and we also need to have a spirituality lesson, just so that everyone is on the same page when it comes to what a root worker, conjure man, conjure woman, hoodoo practitioner, what that really means. Hoodoo was invented by enslaved Africans. Let me repeat that. Hoodoo was created by enslaved Africans who were brought to America. They took some of their beliefs, they meshed it up with other African enslaved people. They added on Christianity, they added on Native American tradition. Basically, hoodoo is a combination of a lot of different things bundled into one, and it became a spiritual practice and a way of life. You have to have some of that enslaved DNA in your system. Side note, my baby in the background pretending to be a baby, so she is pretending to cry. I promise you guys, she is not in any danger, hurt, or anything like that. She just showing out in the background like toddlers do. Because I went back there, I'm like, what is wrong with you? And it's Peppa Pig baby brother on the screen crying. He's about to get his nappy change, and she's just sitting in her chair, just screaming at the top of her lungs. And I said, are you pretending to be a baby? Are you crying? And she said, yes, baby crying. Girl, don't no baby sound like that. So you need some of that enslaved DNA. Hoodoo is an African American spiritual practice. Okay, it's not like your traditional African spirituality. It's not Haitian spirituality. It is known to be a spiritual practice or a belief, a way of life that is centered around those in the southern states. Now, hoodoo is a spiritual practice that has reached other areas of the United States. You got hoodoo practitioners in New York. You got hoodoo practitioners out in California. And it's because when the enslaved Africans were freed, or if they ran away, so be it, how be it, when they went in their own direction of life, they chose to go someplace, they took those same spiritual practices with them. You know, they say that Chicago ain't nothing but Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia people. You know what I'm saying? They say that that North Carolina, South Carolina, even some parts of Florida, they nothing but up north. You know, up north people ain't nothing but them people from down south. They moved up there. But in all actuality, that's how a lot of spiritual practices are spread. Someone relocates, go to a different state, a different city, and they take their beliefs with them. Now, the reason why we gatekeep in hoodoo is because for so many years, our way of living, the things that we do, our superstitions, all of that has been leaked or has been passed out and given out to other people, and they have been utilizing it in their own culture. And it's something that is native to us. Hoodoo is like a practice. I'm gonna say hoodoo is like hoodoo is a spiritual practice that is basically given by word of mouth. There's no book where someone has written down all the things that are hoodoo. Yes, you have some authors that do talk about hoodoo that go in a little bit in depth, but there is no book of hoodoo out there that's going to list everything that is hoodoo. And so now you have a lot of hoodoo practices that have been watered down because other people have added on to it. Other people have put their own spin to it. And I don't want to say they're watered down like that, but there's a lot of things in hoodoo that people do that aren't specifically hoodoo. And so a lot has changed. And that's something that you see is being pushed a lot, is this watered down version of hoodoo. And it's because people have allowed other people to take their knowledge and do with it as they wish. Think about it like this. Think about your grandmother having a book of recipes, right? And it's all delicious meals that she has fed her family throughout the generations. And this is a book that's passed down from her mother, and then from her mother, and then from her mother, and then from her mother. And you know for a fact that when your grandmother passed away, that book is going to go to your mom. And then from your mom, it's going to go to you. Or it's going to be, maybe it's going to be divided and copied up amongst the girls, but you know for a fact that you're going to inherit this book. That is what hoodoo is, right? So if you know for a fact that this book is something that's treasured, that has been passed down from generation to generation, you're not going to go in there and ask your grandmother, hey, can you give me the recipe for your apple pie? And then you go on the internet and post your grandmother's recipe for apple pie. You're not going to do that because it's sacred. You know that apple pie recipe is for you, it's for your cousins, it's for your aunts, your uncles, your nieces, your nephews. You know it's for your family. That is kind of how hoodoo is. Some of the things that we know that's passed down for elders is meant to stay in our bloodline. And if it does somehow spill out into the world, it's because we have been given permission from Spirit, permission from God, permission from our ancestors to pass that out and to be a teacher, to help someone else get on the same path and the same journey as us. You have to have permission to do certain things. You just can't say, I know the answer to 4 plus 4, so I'm going to go out here and tell everybody that it's 8. If you don't have that permission to do that, you can't do that. And so people are really just protecting their legacy. They're protecting what they know. Because if you give away something without permission, sometimes what you do can no longer work for you. It's kind of like giving away your mojo or giving away your magic, giving away your power. So if you know that you're not in the path of a teacher, or if you know for a fact that you aren't necessarily in alignment of being an elder, I don't suggest you giving away things that have been taught and told to you from your elders in your family or from your ancestors. And it's not that we don't want to help, it's just that we don't have permission to help everyone who comes asking for help. Now, there are some universal hoodoo tips and tricks that, we all kind of just know about. We call those kind of superstitions that, I feel like it's okay for you to share. Like, I personally don't blow cinnamon, but I know a lot of people who do blow cinnamon, and I feel like that's something that, I feel like it's okay to tell people about the blowing of cinnamon, the cinnamon brooms above the door. That's also something that I feel like is kind of like universal hoodoo, and no matter where you go in this country, if you're a hoodoo practitioner, you probably are familiar with it. Same thing with the railroad nails. It's a lot of things that's hoodoo that I feel like it's okay to share. But then there are some things that's hoodoo that I feel like, keep that to yourself. Because in the wrong hands, you can give the wrong person power. And I'm not sitting here trying to dictate what you do on your spiritual journey. But I will say when I came out public about my spiritual practices, which was 2018, there was a lot of people who were in the art of becoming witches or becoming conjure men, conjure women, because they were chasing after love or they were chasing after fame and fortune, and they really wasn't in it for themselves. Hoodoo is a healing practice. It is not designed to commit fraud or to harm others, although you can do those things with hoodoo, and I'm not going to lie to you, but it was created as a practice to protect the ones that you love, to keep them safe. It's all about love and healing and protection, and it wasn't necessarily built on the backbone of destruction, if that makes sense. And so a lot of people were joining spiritual practices for the wrong reason. And that's the reason why we gatekeep a lot in hoodoo. Hoodoo is not something that requires initiation. It's really all about the bloodline. But in the same way that you respect Ifa, the same way people respect voodoo, the same way people respect Polyamoyambi and all those other ATRs, I feel like that same respect should be reserved for hoodoo. If you practice voodoo or if you practice Ifa, there are certain things that you just can't run out and tell the world. And I feel like the same goes for hoodoo. And so the gatekeeping is really all about protection. If there is someone that you like and you enjoy following their content and they are a Hoodoo practitioner, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to see if they offer a mentorship program so that you can learn under them, learning directly from the source. But you cannot get mad when people don't want to give away their grandmother's secret recipe book. It's just how it is. I know a lot of people ask questions as far as like, can I cord cut my mom? Or I have someone in my life that's harming a relative or harming someone special to me, and I want to know, how can I handle them? How can I fix it? Or someone did work on me. How can I undo it? I will say this: if you've done divination and someone told you that someone did something to you, they should have a solution. I feel like when a reader or a practitioner or whatever they want to call themselves come to you and they tell you X, Y, and Z, they should follow up with a solution. If the solution is something that is too expensive for you to purchase at this time, kind of side eye, because I feel like, me personally, this is just my personal belief, I feel like a practitioner, someone who is very in tune with spirit, will know your pockets. Right? They'll know what you can and cannot afford, because spirit's going to tell them, hey, look, they need this expensive package, but I know that they can't afford it. So I'm going to give you an alternative to them, or for them, that's going to cover them until they're able to get what they need. Right? But with those practitioners who tell you, you need X, Y, and Z, it's going to cost you $1,200 if I do it, I feel like there should be a plan B and a plan C, because spirit always gives you a backup plan. It's not always this is what you need. And so I feel like when you're in tune with spirit, your spirits are going to tell you whether or not someone can afford you. And if they can't afford you, that's cool. But they're going to give you something to give them, like I said, to hold them over until they can afford what it is that they need. But don't be afraid to ask these practitioners those questions when they're speaking things over you. When it comes to things like cord cutting, when it comes to doing things to like push somebody out the way, if you are practicing hoodoo, then your elders are going to speak to you from the grave. They're going to tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. A lot of people rely on practitioners to give them all the advice and to be the middle person between them and their ancestors. You have to build that connection with your ancestors. Sometimes your ancestors want you to come directly to the source. They don't want you to always go through a third party. And so if you learn how to divine and how to communicate with your ancestors, when things come up in your life, you're able to go to them and they're able to show you and tell you along the way of how to do things, like hand walk you through the process. Remember, hoodoo is word of mouth, and hoodoo is also very organic. It's very basic. It can sometimes be a little complicated, but for the most part, it's basic. So sometimes the things that you need is right there in your home, and your ancestors, like I said, can literally walk you through the process, but you have to be able to understand them as they're talking to you. So when it comes to us gatekeeping, it's really us just wanting you to go back to your ancestors, go back to your ancestor altar, ask your ancestors what it is that you need to do, or ask your ancestors to put you in the right place for someone to give you the answers that you need. If we come and we give you every spell and every ritual that you need for everything that you do, you're not going to learn hoodoo. You're just going to be copying and pasting. You need to know why we use lemon for this, or why we use oranges for that, or why we use this herb, why we use that herb, why we don't do this on this day, why we do this, why do we always do this on this day, why is this month a month of us to just be quiet and allow spirits to just communicate with us, why we wrap our heads up. You need to learn all of that, because it's a process. And the last thing you want to do is start a ritual and you don't know why you are doing what you're doing, and then it backfires, or something happens that throw the ritual off. Now you went out here and you wasted your money buying all of these supplies and it didn't work, and it's because you didn't understand the process. You didn't know why you were doing what you were doing. You're just going off the steps of what someone gave you. There's a reason to everything. And the biggest thing that I would say for someone who wants to learn hoodoo, learn your ancestors, work that ancestor altar, learn about spiritual cleanliness, learn how to divine. If you can do all of those things, then you're ready for the next step. Y'all, just find you somebody that you trust, who ain't gonna scam you, who can teach you. because I promise you, those rituals and those spells that people are just giving out freely, a lot of that is just stolen energy. It's someone learned something from someone and now they're pushing it off as their own. And the spirits that created that ritual, the spirits that are behind that spell, they're no longer going to let it be effective because it's basically just stolen knowledge. That's why you got to be careful practicing the things that you're reading in books and practicing the things that you're seeing online that's just open to the public. If someone is posting their rituals and their spells and their recipes and they're not collecting some type of payment, or the spirits that gave them that ritual, that spell, are not getting an offering in exchange for what it is that you're doing, trust me, it's a gimmick. And they're just posting just to be posting, just to get the followers up. And for some of you guys, it's going to work because your spirits know your heart. They know your intentions, so they're going to make things shake for you. When in reality, it's not the spell of the ritual, it's really your ancestors coming through. But you guys got to be careful what you're practicing and what you're doing. I know for a fact that there are spiritual practitioners out here who enchant things to make it work for them while it's working for you. And they're basically just stealing your energy as you're doing what you're doing. You see that in these big spiritual stores. They got these candles and they got these oils and they got this and they got that. They're enchanting their things to bring back their clients, to bring back their customers. So you got to be careful what you're doing, because you could be feeding something and you don't even know what you're feeding. So if you want to learn hoodoo, I'm going to say this again, find you an elder, find you somebody that you trust, find somebody that is in alignment with you, who have similar goals, similar visions as you, whose energy is pure like yours, and learn from them. I'm out. Peace.